Okay, we'll get started, everyone. A couple of minutes late just because of the previous presentation to the council. So we've started recording and advise all present that an audio recording is being made of this meeting. All persons attending the meeting are to be respectful and considerate towards and of other persons attending the meeting. Language and conduct at the meeting that could be perceived as offensive, defamatory or threatening to any person attending the meeting or listening to the recording is not acceptable. So let's not go hurting feelings, everyone. For the purposes of the recording, elected members should wait until the chairperson announces them before speaking, and please ensure your mobile phone is turned off or silent. So we have present Councillor Anna Reynolds, Councillor Zelinda Sherlock, Councillor Bill Harvey, Councillor John Kelly, Councillor Michael Dutta, Alderman Louise Bloomfield, and we have apologies from Councillor Kitsos and Alderman Zuko. Any others, CEO?
No, Chair.
Thank you. And we have no leave of absences. I don't subscribe to acknowledgement of country religion, so I'll be skipping over that. Confirmation of minutes. Any elected member like to move the minutes?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Alderman Bloomfield. Thank you. We don't need a second.
No.
Any comments on the minutes? No. I'll put those. All those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried unanimously. Any supplementary items, CEO?
No, Chair.
Okay, on to item number 4, conflicts of interest. Would anyone like to declare a conflict? No conflicts of interest. Item 5, transfer of agenda items. Anyone like to transfer items from the open or the closed? No, we can keep going. Item 6 is reports of special committees, and we've got 6.1, the City Heritage Committee. And Councillor Reynolds, would you like to move this item?
I'll have to move it, yeah.
Move that. All those in favour or any debate on this? Would you like to speak to it?
No, just I think. Oh, no, I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or debate on the City Heritage?
Just questions. I have 2 questions. Question number 1, with regards to the minutes, is there any further development or update about the Mac Point residential component? Because there's been mentioned in the minutes, so I'm just wondering if there's any update with regards to that.
Chair,
Well, yeah, not that. I mean, we're obviously not the driver of the project. The state are doing that. So I think I saw Karen's poked her head around. I don't think there has been any developments that we can talk to at the moment. So,
Thank you. And the second question is, again, in the minutes, it's been stated about this matter. And has the city received the arboricultural report, read this St. David's Park monuments? There's a mention of that.
About the trees.
Yes.
Yes, I think we have, haven't we?
Is the arborist report?
Yeah.
the arborist report.
Yes,
Sorry,
so
yes.
So we have received that. So we've got the information that those trees will need to be removed, and so we're just going through a process at the moment in terms of getting final approvals, and that'll happen in the next month or so.
Just a follow-up. Is this the one that was burnt or?
One of them, yeah.
Oh, 2 of them. Oh, okay.
So there's 2 trees.
Yes.
One was burnt.
Yeah.
But the 2 trees are both impacted.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly first.
So thanks, Jess, for you. So that the report will show why they died or why they think they died. Is it no age or is it because of the fires or?
Yeah, so I think we made it available in the bulletin, did we not, on Friday? Or
It was on request.
oh, okay. Well, we're happy to make it available, but can you summarise it, please, David?
Yeah, well, actually, Sean's here, so
Oh, okay, Sean's here.
actually summarise me, but we have sent some information back to elected members with an EMB there, which has got a link to the report, so you can see the entire report here.
Yeah, there's a combination of factors. There's not one that we can pin it down to, but there's been fires in both trees. About 4 fires over the term in the last 2 years. Probably the last fire was the most significant one where TFS used the foams on the tree. So it's hard to pinpoint it down to one thing, but there's been a combination combination of different things happening to that tree over a period of time. People camping under it, us doing work underneath the tree as well, clearing up underneath the tree, removing needles, sharps, all those sorts of things. So lots of different actions that could have caused the trees to die. So you can't nail it down to one.
I was approached by a major mill who said they'd be happy to, get them to put in writing, to mill it at virtual cost for future use for furniture and all that. So I'll pass that information on that was sent to me if you like. And that's the intent to use the timber for...
The intent at the moment is to remove all the timber from site, store out at the bushland depot, and then we'll most likely run some sort of expression of interest to do something with the timber.
Sure.
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds?
Oh yeah, thank you. I was just going to mention that I thought one of the interesting things from the arboricultural report is that there were probably mistakes made when the trees were very young, that the roots didn't seem to grow deeply. They went sort of shallow. They were trying to collect water from the irrigation of the lawns. So it seems as though, the problem started a long time ago.
Thank you. If there's no further questions or comments, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? Carried unanimously. And I believe the next items are for workshopping, so items for workshopping. And I'll invite the President of the Friends of the Soldiers Memorial Avenue, Mr Wadsley, to come forward, John Wadsley, to come and take a seat here.
Thank you.
And 7.1 is around the Soldiers Memorial Avenue and the role of the Friends in terms of the context, challenges and future partnership.
Would I be allowed to pass those around?
Yes, great.
Would you be able to take one and pass it on? I'll take two if you like, got plenty. And that's just a couple of things. Our brochure, which was 11 years old now, plus also a document which was released by the Mercury in 2018 for our centenary, which gives you a little bit of colour. The purpose today for me is really, is that what my thingy? Thank you. Is just really to give greater depth to the relationship between the City of Hobart and the Friends Group. When the debate was on back in September last year, when we asked Council to provide some of the funding towards the replacement or restoration of those stolen plaques, there was some commentary from some councillors, about why should Council be involved with this. It's got nothing to do with Council, it's a military memorial. I'm paraphrasing there. So we wrote to Michael and subsequently to that we asked if we could be part of the workshops. So today I'll try and whiz through some of the history and give you it's all, I think, in the papers you've been presented, so you don't have to memorise it, but I will test you later. You can see there the red line extends from Aberdeen Street below the Aquatic Centre in a meandering line up past the TCA ground and then round the Domain Athletic Centre to the Crossroads Oval. The yellow dotted line is where the avenue originally went until Council decided to build a tip in that gully in the 1960s, and in doing so pulled out 60 memorial trees. It wasn't until FOSMA and Council agreed in 2008 to replace those trees with new pathways around the eastern and western sides, you can see there. The yellow dotted line down the bottom right hand corner, which runs along Anzac Parade to the cenotaph, that was the 1926 extension, which included about 20 odd trees. There are two remaining from that now, very close to the cenotaph. So you can see it commands a significant proportion of the Queen's Domain. And has always been regarded as being linked to the Hobart Cenotaph. Remembering the avenue came in 1918, the Cenotaph wasn't dedicated till 7 years later. So the beginnings of the avenue. The avenue's movement around Australia was gaining pace from 1916, 1917. We know the very first avenue in Australia for a memorial dates from about August 1915 in Adelaide, or near Adelaide. Then we have Ballarat, which starts a very big avenue, which ended up being 3,900 trees over 23 kilometres. It's the longest remaining memorial and commemorative avenue from the Great War in the world today. So stories were coming back from the mainland about these avenues starting to be planted. There was a lot of discussion in council minutes about planting an avenue here in Hobart. The forerunner of the RSL also got involved with that. So you can see here, these are pictures from the working bees when volunteers went up there in mid-1918 to start digging holes. And remember, the domain is built on dolerite. So these were holes dug by hand, in some cases through some very tough dolerite rock. There's some images from the main dedication on the 3rd of August where 400 trees were planted. They reckon between 8,000 to 10,000 people attended on that day. Now this is August, this is winter time. So, you know, for that number of people to come out, it's a quarter of Hobart's population at the time. This was a significant event.
John, do you know whether they removed trees to plant these ones, or was the domain quite bare?
The domain was quite bare. There's
it's
actually
a grassland.
Yeah, I'll show. There's a photograph that comes up later on, which might actually help you with that. That's an interesting question, though. No one's actually asked me that before.
No, someone raised it because the Adelaide parklands, you know, they've got some really, really substantial eucalypts.
Yes.
We don't have a huge number of substantial eucalypts in Hobart, and somebody said, oh, there were a lot on the domain. But I think they probably came down quite early on.
Yeah, possibly.
And then there was, you know...
The domain was used for firewood for 200 years. So this is a very quick timeline. Lots of words there, I'm sorry, but it was, again, trying to just give you some of the key pointers there. You can see from October there were discussions with council about an avenue. June, July there were volunteers. We have groups from all over Hobart. You had foster boys from from Lansdowne Crescent in a boys' home who were no bigger than the spades they were carrying, digging holes. We have mothers of soldiers who've died, fathers. You have returned soldiers. You have soldiers that haven't gone to the war from Claremont Camp, all coming along. So it's very much a community-driven activity. People had to apply for a tree. It wasn't automatic. So that was something which council helped to coordinate as well. So we had the first dedication in August 18, then February 19, we have the second dedication, and you can see then that as the years go on, they had originally wooden boards, and there's a photograph of those, that we replaced those with zinc plates. Blue gums were planted in the 70s, which was a really bad decision for the cedars because blue gums just suck the life out of everything around them. But thankfully, because they're not native to the domain, ourselves and council agreed that we could actually get those removed, and that comes up later on. One of the other really important connections between the council and the avenue is the town hall. As you come in every time, you'll see that beautiful honour roll with 3,500 names on it, including my great uncle. And that is the Bible that we go off. If a soldier has his name there and he's recorded as dead, he has a tree on the avenue. The two are linked inextricably, so that's a very important part of our history. Here's that picture. If you look at the domain then, it was very much an open woodland. Ever since European settlement, it had been used as sheep run for cattle and for firewood. So people regarded it as very much a white gum woodland, very, very open. So I doubt they actually removed many trees to plant them out. I should just go back. You can see there are 4 rows of trees. Originally there was only going to be 2 rows, but the Newtown Council, which was a separate council at that time, they asked if they could come on board because they had many men from the Newtown area who had died as well. And so it was broadened out to be mainly four rows, or there are some places where it is only 2. And you can see each tree has a little white picket fence, and there was a white wooden plaque that was painted and stuck on the fence with the soldier's name and their date of death. So coming to, I suppose, the key reason, trying to explain just how close our relationship has been with the council ever since FOSMA was formed in 2001. And you look through all the things that are going on there, and there is active work going on all the time. We had the first management plan in 2004. That allowed us, with council, to start moving on things like weeding. The avenue had become largely overgrown. We also had those blue gums to deal with. And so we got agreement from council's arborists that blue gums were not native, they could be removed. We started holding working bees to start getting rid of some of the weeds. Council employed work for the Dole volunteers, Project Harm, also their own crews to take out the big trees. And so over time you find the avenue going from a pretty scrappy place. We had lots of people, particularly women, coming to us saying they didn't enjoy walking along the avenue. They didn't feel safe because there was so much weeds and grass everywhere. By opening it up, by getting it back to what it was, a mown space and a cleared space, people actually started to enjoy it as a recreational space. That also points to the fact that the Soldiers Avenue Committee, we've always regarded it as not just a memorial. It actually is a multi-recreational space. People can come and walk and ride and walk the dogs, as long as the dogs don't wee on the plaques, which they do, or worse. That's a bit of an issue at times. But it has always been seen as very much a win-win project. You can see that council grew and planted out 250 trees over that sort of 4-year period, plus another 50 trees in 2008 when we put those new pathways around the ovals. So council's nursery staff have been intimately involved, and they still have trees growing today. They always have a few coming on in case we lose them. 2018, that little handout I gave you for the centenary. The Mercury, actually, we went and had a chat to the Mercury, and they said, how about we run some stories for you? So they had 100 days of heroes, they called it. So for 100 days leading up to from the 3rd of August, which is when our centenary was, up until the 11th of November for Armistice Day, they ran 100 stories in the Mercury of soldiers from the Avenue. And that handout gives you some of those. So that was terrific. We had a lot of positive feedback from that. The centenary event attracted over 700 people. Big day. Lieutenant Governor was there. We had Brendan Nelson, the head of the War Memorial, came down, who spoke very eloquently. So that gives you that snapshot. Here's some photographs. You can see the clean-up taken from the same locations. You can just see how overgrown it was. Not only were there blue gums between the cedars, there were wattles. Other stuff had grown up. And I believe, through the 1970s and 80s, extending into the 90s, the policy sort of became within council, I'm willing to be corrected, but let's let it go back to nature. Which is fine, but it already was a memorial space, and you can see from that earlier photograph that it had been substantially changed by European occupation. So getting it back to a mown space really opened it up and made it a lot safer. A lot of work went into that. I can't remember how many working bees I went to, but I was a lot thinner then. That probably helped me. We then had to do something about reconnecting the name of a soldier with the tree. That is fundamental to the avenue. Our brief has always been, for every soldier a tree, and for every tree a plaque. So back in the 1980s, the zinc metal plates which had been hanging around the trees, the last 200 of those were collected by council and put into storage. Only 200 out of 500. So the avenue had lost, all those trees had lost their names. So when we came on board, we worked with council with the new management plan. We had to come up with things. So you can see, there we go, the plaques, an A4 size in bronze, soldier's name, their battalion, when they were killed, their unit colours in the middle, they're really important, their age, their religion, their occupation, and then as much detail as we could find from families. This one, Charles Wilkie, one of his descendants, was on our committee. So we actually went through and did a fundraising campaign. We raised probably nearly $400,000 over the period between 2004 up to 2014 to put those plaques on, and council did the concrete plinths you can see there. We've always hoped that they would last in perpetuity until some person I won't name, because I don't know who they were, decided to try and steal some. But then they realised they were worthless. But you can see by having those names, that actually gives credibility and personal relationship. certainly for families. In the paperwork, I think we show you we've done 19 dedications over about between 2004 and 2013. That was with one of the governors. The last 4 governors have been our patron, so they would come along. We had family groups. We would advertise that in the Mercury to try and find descendants. Today we've probably got direct contact with about 230 families. It's not half, but it's getting close. Remembering 80% of all the soldiers that fought in the Great War and died were single men. So we're trying to trace the families through their brothers or their sisters' families, their children, their nieces and nephews, which gets a bit tough, but a lot of families have come to us. I wanted to put this down. I suppose we'll get into the nitty-gritty over here. What we see is the opportunities for the avenue between FOSMA and Council. It is a multi-use space. In all the years I've been doing this, and I've been on the Avenue Committee now for 25 years, it's always been seen as a win-win project. Something good is always coming out of it for everybody. And so we have people who use it for recreation. I've done countless tours for school groups, and I still do it today. We do presentations. I've got at least 3 presentations booked up during April to go and do PowerPoints for community groups. So I think we can build on that. There's a lot of opportunity there for council. Cities to Gardens Way and Legacy Park, you know, they wouldn't probably happen or have happened if it wasn't for the avenue. The Bridge of Remembrance, its funding was leveraged off the avenue. We've had some great theatre work there, Tree Widows, which was done back in 2016 with Jane Longhurst and others. Terrific piece of theatre, I'd love to do that again. Dark Mofa, I used it. So there's a lot of things there. We're on the State Heritage Register now. That took us 3 years to get that up. That took a little bit of work, but it's good. The threats. I think one of the reasons I'm here today is because it became clear last year that the council may have lost some of that memory as to what was going on with the avenue. You know, the fact that it was a council project, it was a council initiated thing. And over the years, as always with organisations, there's been a lot of churn through your staff, and a lot of those staff that were intimately involved between 2004 and 2014 when we were doing working bees, when we were doing cleanups, when we had dedications, they all were part of it. They would come along. But then, of course, we got to 2015. Hey, we've put plaques out for 535 people now. The job is done. Well, it wasn't, because we were still educating people. But I think in a lot of minds, the avenue started to lose that connection. So I think that's important, to get that long-term commitment. Inappropriate development. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening around the domain and the cenotaph, don't start me. You know, but we have to fight fires. Even little things like when they were doing the lighting for the Crossroads Oval, the consultants originally had the light towers placed between the trees, literally inside the avenue space. And we said, guys, what happens when you're going to do maintenance on these towers? You're going to drive a truck next to the tree. You're going to start impacting on the roots. No. So we actually said, look, we know you need lighting. Let's put the lighting inside the avenue. Win-win. It worked. So things like that. We've always been actively involved in doing those things. We talked to council staff a lot about when they were proposing the extension to the aquatic centre. I'm not sure where that's got to now. That seems to have died a little bit. But we were actively involved because there's 1 or 2 of the trees there that could be impacted. So we're happy to engage. We have on our committee Andrew Robert Tissot, former council arborist. He's terrific because he knows all the history. He did all the work when he was on the other side. We have a town planner. I'm a heritage consultant. We have plenty of other people who've got professional experience. So I think we can add a lot. There's things that are happening though, bushfire, drought, theft and ignorance. We have to fight that all the time. But, as I say, the membership, we're ageing and declining in some ways. We need to refresh that. I'd like to go on forever, but I won't. Within your brochure, the red one, is that map. It's got a listing of all the names. It tells the story of the war in those colours. All the red ones, that's 1917. over a third of the men on the avenue come from 1 year, and 10% of the men in the avenue come from 1 month, October 1917, a very black month and a very black year. So when you walk along the avenue and read the plaques, you start to realise the impact that it had on Tasmania and Hobart. There are nearly 19% of all the men who died in the Great War from Tasmania are represented on the avenue. Finally, we've sort of brainstormed this a bit within our group. I suppose the main thing is we just want to keep talking to you. We want to keep talking, we want to work with you. Your staff are terrific. Up there we've got Ruby and others who engage with us all the time. I think the stolen plaques was one thing. The trees that got damaged by that low burn, thankfully that they all seem to be recovering a lot better than what we hoped. But from every cloud has a silver lining, and those events have actually spurred a lot more discussion. When you look at that map, the avenue is a long thing on the domain. Let's use it as part of our planning. Let's actually see how we can actually lever that. It is a heritage jewel. We need, I think council needs to raise the profile of the avenue within its website. It used to be a lot more. If you look at it now, it's a little bit hard to find. It is there, but there's not a lot of stuff about it. We have our own website. Whether that should be part of council, we're happy to have that discussion. But you can go on there and you can find the information for the soldiers. We're also reviewing the role of honour in the town hall, just to make sure we haven't missed anyone. Back in 2024, we actually did 2 new dedications for 2 men. One of them was listed on the roll of honour, but he wasn't listed as dead. And for some reason that had been missed, and we'd missed it as well. So potentially there may be a few more, but there's 3,500 names, so it takes a bit of time. But I suppose again, we think we can help council. We'd love to work with council on a continuing basis. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Feel free to take a seat. I might just ask if any elected members want to ask you some questions.
Yeah, sure.
So I put out for questions to start with, and then we'll go to any other comment. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for your stewardship up there and the work and all your volunteer work, and also your military service, which should be acknowledged as well.
Oh, well, I never served in the military, but...
I thought you did.
No.
Okay.
Be
Anyway,
careful there. Sort
of. So thanks for all of that. It's been great. Quite right. It's been forgotten, hasn't it? That whole area there. But hey, let's move on from all of that. And the Remembrance Bridge is really opening up that gateway up to the top of the lake. And there's other developments happening up there.
Yep.
We've been workshopping as well. So
yes,
this will be an important link to everything that's happening up there. Just a couple of quick questions. One of those old zinc plaques, they're just in storage. There's no way they could be used or...
Back in end of 2014, FOSMA agreed with council to donate them to TMAG. Right. And so when TMAG had its major Great War exhibition called The Suspense is Awful, they actually put those 200 on display on one wall, which was quite an emotive display. It included the zinc plaque for my great uncle. Yeah. A lot of those plaques over the years, I think people just took them home. Oh, there's Uncle Joe's. Let's take that home now. I've got a couple in our collection with FOSMA, so we can show those to school groups. So they are in safe hands. Hopefully TMAG might put them on display again one day.
And have you had any conversations with state government with this new service road they've got going to Mac Point?
Yeah.
And the highway coming out,
yes,
which is problematic, I believe.
Look, we've had a couple of meetings with State Growth. The underpass, which goes under the Tasman Highway and that cutting, they are looking to widen that because they want to put B doubles along that route. And there is the potential to impact on some of our trees. We've made it very, very clear to them we are not interested in them removing trees. There's been enough going on over the last few years. Now, they have a plan where they would build a retaining wall, which hopefully could sort of mitigate any issues. But we are in contact with them. We haven't seen the final design yet, but we have had some meetings. We've also met with Stuart Baird from your roads group to look at improving the pedestrian crossing over Davies Avenue on that really sharp bend at the foot of the Bridge of Remembrance. That's something which we've been raising for years with council, needs to be improved, and particularly when we've got school groups and lots of people moving across that space. So we're involved, you know.
Yeah. But thanks for reinforcing just how much count. You're quite right in that presentation that was done before, or notes we got from you, that it is a council asset. You guys are there like Friends of Knocklofty, for instance, you know, and which is another fantastic organisation. And who do get a lot of recognition and all that. You guys haven't, and I think it's about time council, and I will fully support anything we can do for this to happen, and it's something I think we'll have a lot more discussion about.
Oh, well, we're happy, we're here to be helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Dutta.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate it. I'll comment on that later. But I have two questions. Question number one, do you have any grants given to you to do the work you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, over the years we've received grants from the state government. They way back, we got a $40,000 grant through the state government. TASAL was a major supporter in the early 2000s. They probably donated about $90,000 to the group. They had a number of men that were connected from, you know, fisher, people involved with fishing and whatever. So they were very interested to help. The RSL had provided funding. They helped with the printing of the brochure back in 2014. And also substantial donations from families. So, you know, we've got 537 plaques up there. Probably 150, maybe going on for 200 of those, people from those families actually paid towards those plaques. Now, back in 2006, it may only cost $300 each to get a plaque cast. Now, to get recast a couple of the ones which had been stolen and really badly damaged, $850. Even just to restore one, so not recast, but just to basically take that bronze back to redoing it, that was $500. So it's expensive business now. Yeah.
Thank you. And the second question is, do you do anything on an annual basis?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes, so we do, before Anzac Day and before Remembrance Day, we do cleanups along the avenue, and particularly we polish the plaques. As I said earlier, I do lots of presentations for school groups and community groups, both on the avenue and off. Every year the Frank McDonald Memorial Prize winners, a group of 6 students, plus the teachers and other people involved, their families. I do a tour for them. I've been doing that now, goodness knows, many years. So we have a regular thing going on there. And, you know, I suppose on a more ad hoc basis, we have members who will walk the avenue at various times just to check how things are.
Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation. And I think when I was Parks Committee Chair, you had a more regular connection with the Parks Committee.
Yes.
There was often a regular.
Yes, there was.
Reporting, and I think I sat on a couple of committee meetings.
And also Queen's Domain Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
We were on that as well.
Yeah, lots of them, wasn't there? I'm just thinking about sort of history, and, you know, it is an amazing history. I'm just wondering about the decision to change from the pines to the blue gums, which was obviously made at some point, and was the wrong decision because they're not native to the domain. But, you know, I think there's a lot of history on the domain that's like, you know, 40,000 years of history.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, it is a natural landscape. I'm just wondering, like, as the pines do come to the end of life,
yes,
would you be interested in sort of replacing them with a native pine, or a native to the domain, like a white gum or something, so that we're sort of, you know, recognising that the biodiversity of the domain is really important.
Look, there are some avenues around Australia which have native trees. In Perth, Kings Park, they're all gum trees. As a heritage consultant, professionally, I would say no. I say they were planted as cedars, not pines. There is a little bit difference, but no offence. And so they should remain. The council is growing cedars in its nursery all the time. The reason they chose cedars is because they live between 300 and 400 years. We believe they actually sourced many of them from nurseries in Ballarat, because Ballarat has fantastic soil and climate for growing things. And initially they brought a whole lot of those trees down from Ballarat, and then they propagated more in the council nurseries here. Look, you know, we'd be up for a discussion. I suppose one thing to note though, and Professor Kirkpatrick, if you remember Jamie, he actually found there are native orchids which are growing underneath the cedars on the domain. So in a weird symbiotic relationship, exotic trees are actually protecting some of our smallest native plants. And he was very, very firm about not losing the cedars for that reason. I'm not sure of the spread of them now, but I know they do regular assessments of that.
And I guess my second question is kind of related to that, which is around, you know, I quite liked the pictures of the kind of the grasses around, you know, higher up, because it is a native grassland landscape. And I mean, are the grasses around your trees the sort of the endangered variety that are part of the protected under EPC?
Well, I know there are a lot of mainly native grasses, and so that's why council does those low burns to help them regenerate. Quite often they will actually leave the mowing as late as they can in the summer before Anzac Day to let the seed drop. And we've always been happy to go along with that. We know that there are quite a few plans they have for ensuring the native grasses to continue.
So they've got that, all that management work is not being interrupted.
But we manage it along those lines there, so obviously looking at the wider domain area and taking up your point there in terms of actually trying to use the native.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you don't want the sort of pathway overgrown, but, you know, having a little bit of the, you know, the native, some patches of the native grassland, it is, everyone's aesthetic is different. It's sort of like the, you know, some people want the sort of very formal parkland, other people want the more natural sort of space. But I
think one thing which has been expressed to us before too is that it is almost a good fire break. The fact that it's mown, it actually helps provide a fire break along a fair distance of the domain. And so if you had a fire on one side, the actual mowed area helps to break that from taking the whole lot. So whether that's what reason, I'm happy to have a chat. I think there'd be a fair bit of resistance to it, to removing the cedars, from members, from, you know, other historically minded people like myself. You know, I think, I mean, I actually wrote a conservation plan for the Ballarat Avenue of Honour, and that is really complicated because it's along a road, a really big road, and Ballarat is now like 130,000 people and spreading like wildfire. So where this avenue passes the intersections are getting bigger all the time, and so trees are being, you know, removed, and how do you deal with that? But as an example of, I suppose, the significance, the Victorian government, they actually paid for the highway, which goes between Melbourne and Adelaide, for that to be put over, not under, but over the avenue, so the avenue could actually maintain its integrity. It cost $40 million.
Wow.
Quite fun.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thanks John for your presentation. So you're looking for a close working relationship combined with the City of Hobart asset ownership, planning, maintenance. So they seem to be ongoing anyway.
Yeah.
So what sort of expenses are you looking at down the track, like replacing plaques, or is what sort of impost on Hobart might we see in the future?
Well, I mean, there's currently an audit underway, isn't there?
That's correct. So we're just doing an audit on all the plaques at the moment there, looking at the condition and looking at what the likely costs are, and looking at, you know, what that might mean in terms of actually replacement over the longer period of time type of thing. So we haven't completed that yet, but once we've completed that, I guess it'll come back into the council arena to sort of make some decisions as well in terms of where we might want to go with that.
How long does a plaque last?
Well, bronze, I mean, it can last forever, you know, if it's looked after. The issues we have is the colour patch. That starts to degrade after time. And when the plaques were finished, I mean, if you start off with your bare bronze, they sandblast it, and then they paint a base colour. All the lettering is raised. So I'll just go back. So all that lettering is raised up.
Yeah.
They then, after the base colour has been put on, They then run a grinder over the lettering to give that gold finish coming out. The colour is then painted in enamel, and then they finish off with lacquer, 2 or 3 lacquer coats.
And that's done in Hobart?
Yep, APCO Engineering do it now. Originally we used Reckless Foundry on Evans Street before they closed.
Okay, but looking into the future, we might need to replace 500 plaques or so.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. At how much a pop? $800 a pop?
At the moment.
Plus plinths. We've got concrete plinths as well at the same time, so we're looking at both the plaques and the plinth.
So I'm just thinking potentially there's a new style of plaque,
Possibly.
laser cut onto a whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be a bit more affordable than $800 plaque for.
Yeah, I suppose at the time we were trying to think of something that was solid, you know. So the wooden plaques, they only lasted about 15 to 20 years before they replaced them with the zinc. The zinc ones were hung on a chain around the trunk of the tree. As the tree grew, the chain burst and they fell onto the ground. Our founding member, Adrian Howard, he actually found one of them in the dirt, and that sort of got his interest going, and that's the whole thing spawned from there. We thought concrete, you know, and with the bronze plaque drilled in, and we wanted more than just a name and their date of death. We wanted to tell something of the history of these people and the families.
But moving into the 21st century, you know, as we are further into it, it might be that they have a barcode or a QR code, and you have a lot more information on your phone about every plaque.
Absolutely.
You know, like just a different style of presentation of this.
Look, I think that's certainly worth discussing. We have sort of toyed with it. We've never gone down that path, probably because when we were talking about the technology really hadn't moved on, but now it has, and everyone's got a phone. You know, you could, you could even have virtual reality things going on.
And 3D images of the soldier that comes up from the holographic thing out of the ground. Yeah, but anyway, I'll get into that.
And then I pop up behind someone.
Now we'll hand over to
50 years from now.
Don't let that dog pee on the park.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you,
Councillor
Chair. Just really quick one on grant funding. Thank you for your presentation as well. It's good to get some clarity over some ambiguities from the meeting. But in terms of funding, have you ever had funding from the Australian War Memorial or any of the war agencies?
Yeah, we have. Not the War Memorial, because they don't give grants, as far as I know, to anyone. They like taking money, using money, but as far as I know, I don't think. Oh, there is the Australian Army History Unit, although that's not the War Memorial, that's Army. They fund writings of histories and things like that. DVA has helped us out. State RSL, although that's RSL not. There are other government agencies, you know, that we've got involved in.
Yeah. I think just having a brief scan, it looks like there are. I don't know if it's the War Memorial that is actually processing grant applications, but there are some stuff around. So can I ask a question of the director as well? In the circumstance that we did want to replace the 500 plaques, would we be the responsible agency for chasing the grant, or would FOSMA be responsible for chasing the grant?
Well, I think this is what we actually want to bring back to council in terms of saying, look, this is where we actually are with the audit. This is the condition of the fence, this is the condition of the plaques, this is some of the options that might be available, picking up some of Bill's ideas, some of them, not all of them, and take that back on and say, okay, you know, what is the appetite for council to actually fund? And in that case there, if there was an appetite for it, that'd be one of the things we want to be doing is actually then looking at actually chasing up grants as well. But we would work, if that was the case, we would work in conjunction with FOSMA to actually go and do that.
And is that true also of there's maintenance grants available through DPAC for War Memorial stuff? Like they're only up to $5,000, but you know, are we seeking that funding to assist either through FOSMA or through council?
We certainly can. I mean, you know, I think you've seen probably the saluting their service grants through the Commonwealth.
Yep.
That's open at the moment, and that's pretty well open all the time.
Yeah.
There's always stuff going on. There's the Teddy Sheehan War Memorial Grants Program through the state government. We'd actually put in an application to do with the audit, which we were unsuccessful on, which was a shame. But you know, there's lots of stuff there. I suppose the other thing to say too is that as well as the physical funds we've been able to raise with council, there's also the volunteer hours. You know, I can't even begin to try and count how many hours our volunteers have spent cleaning plaques, picking up rubbish, getting the plinths ready for that, doing the research for that. You know, seriously, I mean, there's a lot of hard yakka in that, particularly when we're trying to find families.
Thank you. Alderman Bloomfield.
Oh, thank you. Look, I just wanted to go left field. I was really, really enamoured when I got to be part of the rededication. That was beautiful, and it really showed me just how powerful it was. I think a few of us were there actually.
Yes.
And I also feel too that by working together, that's going to be really important, like it always has been. But I was looking at things like, well, for starters, relying on grants, I think is going to be rather fraught in the next few years, because I don't think it's going to be any money anywhere.
No.
But if we were to look at things like, we have the Lord Mayor's charity that's almost to fruition, that could be an income stream, possibly.
Yeah.
And the other area I was thinking too was we also have the Tourism Tasmania, and it could be that if we were to enable interested tourists, like, you know, we have the cruise ships come down, and if there was for a donation to your organisation, to you guys could organise a tour, then there's another income stream that's independent of government and whatever the hell's going on in our country at the moment. We've got all these different things going on that we could actually strengthen the income and be doing that with you.
Yeah, I mean, even this Saturday, Sunday, I'm out at Glenorchy, there's a military history fair, and I've got a small FOSMA display, and we've got a whole lot of books which have been donated to us, and I'm selling those, and the funds will go to FOSMA to help us, you know, with plaques and things like that. So we're always looking for ways to do it. And again, you know, if we want to do something, I'm sure there would be members or descendants of the men and one woman on the avenue who would want to donate again. You know, we were careful last year with the stolen plaques. We didn't want to impose too much on those families to ask them yet again. So apart from council's grant, we also got money from the South Arm RSL, the Kingston RSL and the Hobart RSL and Hobart Legacy. So, you know, there are lots of ex-service groups that are willing to help out.
Yeah, I just feel that we could be a hub that actually allows you to engage direct with the community and get funding there as well, which might be a little possibly easier.
Yeah.
And then that effectively will strengthen up everything that you need.
And certainly, I should have said Tas Community Fund. We got some good grants from them, and within their structure you have to show that you've got volunteers as in-kind support, and so with what council were doing, what we were doing, we made some really good applications there which were successful.
Yeah, that's great.
Councillor Dudder, did you want to say?
No, it was question time, so I restricted myself to questions. I will, when it comes to comments, then I will.
Unless anyone's got any other specific questions, we'll hand over Councillor Dutta.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I want to say thank you so much. That was historical information that I didn't have. Now, with that in mind, I'm just making a suggestion, you know, that we need to educate people because so many people don't know about it. So my suggestion is, you know, we have Multicultural Council of Tasmania, we have Migrant Resource Centres. The new migrants, and even those of us who've been here more than 40 years, don't have the same knowledge about that history. And I think it is important that if you're going to other places, you know, that educational history is very important for new migrants coming in to get that holistic, you know.
Well, you know, if you have any contacts with those groups, just give me a call.
We will. I will get together, and I think it would be good to promote this.
My wife says I talk too much, but
I'll
if
let
you can
you
put
know.
up with me.
I'll let you in.
I send bricks to sleep, so, but...
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
I was just to say one thing. I just think it's probably time council stepped up now and realised that, look, this is our asset. It's no different to the recreation grounds up on the Domain or anywhere in their suburbs. And it's high time now that it's treated as such, and it shouldn't be up to you guys to come out with a begging bowl to do that. Sure, it's great to have you dovetail in and assist and with your knowledge, which is phenomenal and all that. And I do see the threat, and this is happening globally, with volunteers. It's just so hard, and as I just said, so many organisations now that this is a looming problem, and it's probably an opportune time that we, move on and make that bridge towards it. And that should be included in all our budgets and all that sort of stuff in conjunction with what you can do.
Just on that, we had a meeting recently with Inspiring Place Consultants who are doing your master plan for the Domain Athletic Centre, and they wanted to engage with us because we're a neighbour. And as I mentioned in the notes, there used to be an honour roll up there from the Tasmanian Amateur Athletics Association, which has got 26 men on there from the Avenue. So there are intimate connections, we engage with them. We had a good chat. I don't think there's anything major that's happening at the athletic centre that's going to affect the Avenue, but there are things like car parking and access and interpretation and helping people to understand what's there. And we've actually spoken to the State Library, who currently hold that honour roll, and they're quite happy to donate it back to the athletic centre if there's a place where it can go, because some really powerful stories.
Hobart had one of the highest rates per population, I think in Australia, for fallen soldiers. Australia had one of the highest in the whole war. So here we have right in Hobart, and some soldier told me once that North Hobart Triangle and around Newtown and North Hobart was the highest concentration for Australia, therefore possibly in the whole Great War. You just got to read those plaques, it's so touching.
There were dozens of families who, through the long hot summers, they would carry buckets of water up from North Hobart or West Hobart to water the trees, to try and keep them alive.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Just wanted to ask, who saw the Tree Widows play when it was on 2018? Because we commissioned it as a council. Did anyone see it? No, you've seen it? It was really good. It was fantastic. It was really emotional.
Yeah.
Jane Longhurst and what's his face? And the other couple of actors were...
Guy Hooper was there.
Yeah, Guy. Yeah, they were sensational. It was a really great play. And we own it. It's our play. And just a thought for you, CEO, if the moment arrives when we could potentially show it again, like we often have art things in the park there, it's a really worthy play to put on again for the right moment, the right anniversary or something. But when it comes to how much money you're going to need, I'm not as enthusiastic as John as handing over whatever cash you want. So, we're going to have to work it out, and if we can come up with an outcome that can get a good outcome that reduces the cost somehow through whatever style of plaque we can negotiate, then that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sherlock.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. It's always lovely to see you. I did just want to say, when you were talking about the wonderful work that the council already does with you, I completely agree with you. The staff have, just been amazing, and the few different things that we've gotten to do together as well. I agree with you. But I just wanted to touch on the entry that you were talking about at Davies Avenue.
Oh, Davies Avenue, yes.
Yeah, so myself and Councillor Harvey and Councillor Posset, we went on a site tour and we had a look at some of the changes that are actually going to be occurring. Maybe you can talk about that.
Oh, yeah, it's just realigning it so it makes it much easier for people to actually access straight off the Remembrance Bridge and access onto the path. More than anything, it's safer at the moment there. It's quite unsafe what people are doing in terms of crossing that road. So it's effectively trying to narrow the road down there and provide a much better crossing point on the corner as compared to where it is at the moment.
And I think it's good that you've got that design there now, because you can go to state growth and say, we want this, before they start playing around with their B double route.
So did you want to finish up, Councillor Sherlock? Is that okay? Thank you. I'll just be brief. I just had a couple of questions first for the officers. Do we have anything captured in writing in terms of like roles and responsibilities in terms of our relationship with the Friends?
No, but I think that's what we would like to do. This is this idea of this report coming back to council. So once we've got it ordered on the plaques and so forth, it'd be good to actually sort of encapsulate that together. So obviously we manage all the trees through there in terms of maintenance of the trees and so forth there. I think the bit that's been a little bit unclear has been with the plaques and the plinths more than anything. So I think that's the bit we would like to actually try and bring back to council, get a resolution one way or the other, and actually move forward on that. And then I think it's fairly clear in terms of what that happens to be.
I think the action plan that was done in 22 may allude to some things. I should have brought that copy with
That's
me.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my other feedback, and just take it as advice, it would be great if we could have something, if there might be an action plan that we can pick up, because I'm not alone. I think a lot of us weren't familiar with obviously the history which you provided, which is fantastic, but I'm just thinking about not only if we can try and prevent case by case decisions and have, without over engineering it, but something in terms of a guideline about how the plantings in future and the signage in future, funding in future, but also more immediate. If we can, and I understand in terms of the Friends, the committee and volunteers, I mean, from my perspective, that would be an obvious thing that we could help with the social media cross-promotion through our channel. And I think we'd love to see a lot more cross-promotion on that. I mean, why can't we have, the 100 stories or whatever, or story once a month on our Facebook around each of the soldiers?
Yeah.
Because, you can see how long-lasting that partnership has been, and we don't want that to fall away. So that would be my feedback. And other than just say thank you, because you've been doing this for a long time, and when things don't have an owner or custodian, that's when they're really vulnerable. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to the other committee members.
Thank you very much. I suppose, in closing, in the 1920s, there was a lot of interest in the avenue, because, in the decade afterwards. But then in the 30s, as families started to pass on or move, it started to wane. And then in the 1960s, when the Crossroads Oval, before the ovals were there was that gully, and the trees went through it. And council, and you can see through the council minutes, there's this ongoing discussion about building a tip there. Really? And there were families that were irate, absolutely irate. Council said, don't worry, we'll replant the trees. And it took 40 years for it to happen. But you could also see in the 60s, you have Vietnam, and there's a lot of anti-war feeling coming through. And I think people started to forget and give up. It's not important anymore. But it still is.
No, absolutely. You're doing a very important job. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Watley.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
So 7.2 we have is summer events for 25-26, debrief of future planning. So the Manager of Creative City and the Director of Community and Economic Development for a presentation.
You want to come?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're here to present the summer events program, which includes the pageant, the switch on, all the festive activities, our grants, New Year's Eve fireworks, and summer events. So one whole package for you. And I've brought Kane Forbes, who's our Senior Events Officer, to go through this presentation, and then we've got some recommendations for future planning for your consideration. So as I've said, the summer events program really kicks off in November. We generally launch at that Q2 and financial year at the end of the year, straight into our key major events, which is obviously our Christmas pageant, and then heading into the New Year's Eve. And then this year we trialled the Summer Sounds, which was an event across the waterfront, which we had 4 of our key creative venues, as well as musicians along the waterfront, which tied into a lot of the activities that happened around there. I'm going to hand it over to Kane, who will talk about all of our major and main events through, and I'll be your clicker.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me. Christmas pageant's obviously one of the jewel in the crown of our Christmas program. It's a 40-plus-year-old event, is deeply connected to the community. There's a large sense of ownership, and it attracts about 35,000 attendances. So it's a big project in a lot of ways. We had about 50 floats or parade groups, 1,475 people in the parade itself, and we integrated the new brand quite seamlessly. Some really good highlights, I think, were negotiating the Maya sponsorship agreement for the next 3 years. That agreement often comes into place quite late, which impacts planning timelines overall. The pageant was gently adjusted this year in line with some of our other arts and culture strategies. For example, we included some street performances around key points in the city as people were arriving, and we programmed a headliner in line with some of our live music strategies as well. Feedback is universally good. We have run surveys, and we've got a baseline now of satisfaction, around 90% satisfaction from the community, which is high, but it's not unexpected actually for an event like this. We should be well into the 80s. It's pretty hard to not like a Christmas parade, and 93% for our parade groups. Again, very, very good. Big Switch On was a first year event for us, a concert style event to accompany the lighting of the tree. We have a 14-metre Christmas tree, gets installed down in Mawson's Place. This one came in quite late in the piece, but we had some goals around a high quality event, both from a production and artistic perspective, and some good investment in the local ecology. So the bands were accompanied by some really fantastic creative workshops where you could make a card or a beetle for your tree. It was a challenging weather day. It was cold, windy and rainy. Perfect for a families event, but the attendances were still pretty good in spite of that. We've got some notes for future improvement. Most importantly, I can see us leveraging our reach of the pageant itself to support the audience reach for this event.
Yeah, the Switch On also was a response to some of the elected members wanting additional events over Christmas. So we sort of really tried to bring this really just from the turning on of the lights to making an event in itself.
Yeah. I genuinely think this can be a prestige event for the city, absolutely. And it's coming in, I think, at a really good amount for an event of this scale. Activations, of course, 14 sort of pop-ups at malls and other locations throughout the city, involving choirs, roving performers. We have our Letters to Santa program and the community gift wrapping, where groups can earn a little bit of money for their not-for-profit by wrapping people's gifts for them. Yeah, great little initiative. New Year's Eve, of course, we manage the fireworks and the safety operations that come with bringing groups down to see the fireworks on the shorefront. It's a logistics-heavy event for us, so the recommendations for going forward are really around those logistics, improving and smoothing out, particularly around communications and planning. Summer Sounds, as Justine mentioned, a new initiative for us, a bit of a trial, a bit of a pilot, about 39 performances along the waterfront. These were street-style performances, buskers, but with a little bit more focus to them. About 63 musicians got paid the minimum rates, the standard rates to perform, which is a great economic development for those people. We also presented some events that we created and programmed, Sunset Blues, the Roundabout Rumba, Bubbles, 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 and the Long Beach Picnic. Long Beach Picnic was also a heavily weather-impacted event, and that carries through in the numbers. About 30 local artists were involved in those, again, getting sort of award rates and really high standards of support through production and event delivery and planning. Decorations rolled out this year. Unfortunately, we didn't have many of the decoration photographs on file, but if anyone was at the pageant, you would have seen quite a seamless visual aesthetic across the event, with the pageant banners, city banners, stage banners, marketing generally, all really consistent and coherent, creating a really nice story of the event. And we were then able to weave that branding into our summer series program generally with site and marketing. I think it's a very strong aesthetic too with the Tasmanian Christmas bell.
This was a major initiative of the year, was reviewing the Christmas brand. Obviously, it was at the end of its life after 10 years, so it was a really great collaboration with our comms and marketing team and working with the design agency, Megan Perkins. So it aimed at strengthening the vibrancy across the city. And really, when I think I brought this to council pre-Christmas, was phase one of renewing our look and feel of the city, was to do the brand, and then phase two would do the decorations. So hopefully you all got around to see that the brand was in all different locations. It was on our banners. You can see our pageant banners, those handheld banners there. That took us quite some time to get those together, but they turned out really, really well. Planter boxes all throughout Elizabeth Street Mall, our courts were all decorated with this brand, so that the city had a really unified look. So it was a great job with the comms and marketing team, and I think being the Tasmanian Christmas bell is iconic to Tasmania. It was a really great look and feel. Obviously our next thing will be getting into the decorations this year, and we'll talk about this at the end, and also just acknowledging the Christmas tree hasn't got too far to go either. I'm going to talk to this.
You can talk to this one, yeah.
Yeah, so we did have 7 activities funded, and it's quite a lengthy table in the report if you wanted to see all the things that happened in the different carols groups. But I think for the most part, they all went ahead. Few had some weather issues, but I think by now they've all got a plan B so that they can move indoors somewhere. But yeah, it was, I think there was one newcomer to the Christmas grants, which might have been Sing Tasmania, and yeah, so all reported really great outcomes as well. So we are just at that next step now, and coming back to present around what we're looking to do for 2026-27, which is really the focus is on that decoration renewal. So just like we did with the branded assets, you know, we had looked at all of them that we have in a big spreadsheet to look at what we wanted to do, but I think the similar thing we'll be doing is focusing on a unified look, and then potentially some big ticket items as well. So you know, we've identified a few locations for those, like Elizabeth Street Mall, where we might want to have like somewhere you could do a photo activation, or some of our courts. So really just those core CBD areas that we can look at. So it'll be a core focus, and obviously we'll look to bring this back to council pre-Christmas delivery as well, so that you can get that first look. I know in our last consultation we also had a call out to be looking at commissioning local artists for some activations. I think that was yourself, Lord Mayor. So we've been looking at opportunities that we can do that, similar to the crochet tree, and which has obviously got such an iconic following, where we can do something in that vein. Kane's leading a pageant safety emergency planning review, which we've actually taken it to the PCBU in the last 2 iterations, which is really looking at, obviously the pageant's been going along for such a long time, but there hasn't been a real review of its safety, and we did that initial work, and with the consultant who said, yeah, actually we've got some work to do. It's not terrible, but definitely needs to move on. We have got, as Kane said, a few New Year's Eve things we need to update as well, probably similar vein of updating safety and emergency. We've also got, I think, investigating a community-led neighbourhood Christmas trees, which I've been speaking with Ruby about as well, which is another initiative we're looking to do. So we just giving you a quick update. This budget is really the combination of all of those key events: New Year's Eve pageant, summer events program, etc. So that's really the combined. So this year we're really just now looking at the final things being allocated towards pre-planning and any costs with new decorations as well. And just in closing, we've put together a proposed timeline for you. So I think we took Christmas to council, I think it was November, December last year. So really you get the first look and feel coming back in that March time, and really then at the conclusion of all the summer events, we again get straight into planning again. So initial planning and scoping, working through the development of the program, looking to launch in September, and then we start to begin all the types of rollout of our assets and decorations, and then our events, and then coming back again, reviewing and reporting, and then coming back to present how we went in that year. So I think that that's it for the presentation.
Justine, just
yes.
to clarify, so you mentioned it will come back to council before next summers.
That's
At
what
what
we've
point
done.
what point does that happen in that timeline? Is that in the June to August?
So I think, and seek advice from Ben or Michael, we generally took the program back to council before Christmas and then post Christmas. So November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is today's session because my personal opinion, coming to us in November, everything's already locked in, it's already done. So is today our opportunity to input into what next?
Yeah. So this is the post event. This is what we did.
Okay.
And then also what we're planning to do. So this is the opportunity for the feedback.
And when will we get just a couple of questions, if that's all right? When will we get more of a breakdown of what you mentioned, the decorations with the new branding applied? Can you give us a bit more information about what's actually being planned? Because I'm sure you probably won't be able to afford, we won't be able to afford to renew all the decorations in 1 year. It might be spread across a few years. But what will be the next purchasing priority?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And what sort of money are you looking at for that?
Another great question. So at this point, and I'll just use the example of the new brand. What we did is put all of the assets we currently hold into the spreadsheet and looked at the cost of renewing those. So we're at that stage where we're also doing the same with the current assets, and then looking at what we'd like to do, what proposed activities from there. So I think traditionally we've invested in new Christmas decorations each year, but there hasn't really been a structure of how we've done that. It's been commercial Christmas supplies. So to answer the question about what we will do, it'll just be that we have to get all that information together, start to do some investigations around cost, and then look at what's actually feasible.
So those decisions haven't been made yet?
No.
There is a budget allocation in that.
There's a budget allocation for Christmas in the city, but it's not specific to decorations. Yeah.
So and that actually, my second question just was around the 530,000 we spent on last year, which would have included the brand and a couple of new things, but admittedly they're going to be small. So is that the same sort of figure you'll be looking at for next year, including the decoration purchase?
Yeah. So that cost, and just to note, that includes New Year's Eve fireworks and crowd control, which is about 215. It includes the pageant budget. It includes Christmas in the city. So, it's not a huge amount. And I think for something like the brand, we did that fairly cheaply, to be honest, with the brand, the actual cost of the design work, plus then that to apply to new assets, that was less than $50,000. So, you know, we don't have a lot to play with. That's why we want to be a bit more strategic in how we do it and look at, can we do it locally? Can we just reskin things? So all of those things we're about to start to go into deliberation.
Okay, thank you. I might open up to the floor then if we want to provide, I guess, high-level feedback, noting that there's still a lot of decisions that haven't been made. So, question, yes, comments about before and future. Alderman Bloomfield?
Look, thank you. I was really excited to see that we'd started reintroducing the word Christmas back into the city. It made a difference, and I got some really positive feedback when I did a op-ed on it. And it was surprising who commented, so it was really, really good. What was interesting though, I've been liaising a little bit with the Minister for Arts, Madeleine O'Goody, and they have a new creative strategy coming out. Hasn't been designed yet, but what was really interesting is I think we can tap into that. There is funding available, and the whole point of a creative strategy that they're kind of like redesigning it. And what I've got to date, and this is why it's interesting possibly for you guys, is that they were talking about basically using creative arts as attraction pieces and directional pieces, so that we use them to attract people to certain areas, and we also use them, like MoFo does, to direct them from one place to another. And we could do that at the same time as everything else we're doing. And if they were to utilise their funding whilst we're doing our stuff, we could actually do a lot more universally, which I thought was really interesting. So I think she's definitely worth a conversation in, which, as I said, I don't know any more yet. They're still kind of putting it together, but I thought that was really worthwhile, especially with the amount of work that you have to do, which is so similar, and that's why she mentioned it to me, because there's a lot of similarities that we can actually utilise. We can use our money on other things instead of, you know, what she'll spend on. So that was something that I thought was interesting. The other thing was too, that we have the age-old issue with we get 35,000 bodies into town, yet the businesses don't always necessarily kind of get the spend that they hope. And I was wondering if we could do some more project work on kind of getting some directional spending. I know that we've got the voucher system out, which unfortunately I didn't get any stuff on, that you've just released recently, but there's possibly maybe some other things that we could do with, like, once upon a time we used to have, the kids would have like a scavenger hunt through the city and things like that, and I know all the shopkeepers used to love putting their windows together just for the kids and things like that as well. That was part of what everyone did. If we could get that, like the directional behaviour back into the city, particularly if it coincided with the pageant, then we've actually got the families kind of, they finish that, the kids want to go off and visit these different places and do stuff, and hopefully we can actually start to encourage a bit more generic spending, not just your coffees and your milkshakes and so forth and bits and pieces, but some actual stuff where everyone's really engaged, because we've got one shot to really display what we've got available. So that was just something else I wanted to add really to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Thanks, Chair. With the parade, how many new floats or participants did we have this year?
We did some good we did some good work on the guidelines, which were a little bit inaccessible, and we did a small amount of outreach as well, which I don't think has happened for a little while. The previous year we got 32 expressions of interest. This year we got 52, so we had a good increase. And the number of new ones, I know. He says, looking down at his notes here, 16, wasn't it?
It was something. It was
it's around about 16.
Yeah. So that's really positive that people are keen. And it's an institution, this parade. I'm glad to see that it survives and it goes on and gets better. But one thing you didn't mention was the awards. I got to do the awards, and that was hilarious, because I let all the runners up, I asked them if they had something to say, and they all raved on about how wonderful the parade was. And then the winners had a go, and they really raved on about winning a prize and how sensational the parade was. So I think we extended it a bit longer than anticipated. But everyone who got on the stage to get their award gave a speech, and you had to cut them off. They just kept talking about what a wonderful day they had, and this is their first time in the parade, and they loved it, and they're going to be back next year bigger and better. And, you know, some people had 2 goes, but somehow they managed to get into 2 of them, you know. But yeah, it was really sensational, some other things, the journey to plastic and waste-free stuff I'm really impressed with. So that's been going on for years and we keep getting better at that every year, so keep going with that. And one other little thing was the Salamanca, you're familiar with the Salamanca Square Christmas tree? Which,
Tomato tree? The tomato?
yeah, it's one of the best art installations that Hobart's ever done. It cost like $8 and was fabricated up at, whatever. It was fabricated by the lads up at the gates.
Yeah.
And every year it's had controversy, every year it's had stuff hung on it. And I reckon it's fantastic. That sort of interest. Did we use that tree this year?
No,
last year?
we didn't. And I think that the concept of the trellis is probably what we're alluding to with, you know, having creative people creating things instead of us investing in, you know, commercial supplies from China, for instance, which is where a lot of Christmas
Christmas stuff comes from. Yeah.
So the concept is very sound because obviously it's locally made and contributed to by local artisans.
And who gets to decorate it this year? Who wins the prize to decorate the
I think we were working through the crochet tree, which we did get up this year, and I think that had some discussion.
Because that quirky stuff I think is really important for Hobart, because we get it. It's an artistic kind of a town. But other than that, I didn't see a lot of everything. But the things I went to and saw were really good. So I was very, very happy with the Christmas. I didn't know we dropped the word Christmas, by the way. Did we actually drop the word Christmas?
I can't answer that definitively.
What I would say is that when we did the survey, we had a lot of responses that it was quite evident within the survey that people wanted to have Christmas and festive and, you know, seasonal greetings and those types of words in there. Hence why it's within the banners and the planter boxes, so you can see those messaging across the city.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to endorse Councillor Harvey's comments about the Christmas pageant. I've sort of obviously judged a few now, and I did notice the newcomers, and I think we should sort of give an award to all those young Latin American groups, because honestly, if you took those 4 out of it, it would have been a little. They put so much effort into it, and it's fantastic. They're so excited. But I think the work that we do to make that a really strong community event is just invaluable, because you could have a Christmas pageant that's very flat. You know, no other, you know, Moomba and those ones. They're a bit. It does take work to actually create something that's interesting to watch, and that's what's so good about those Latin Americans, because they're performers. But you don't have to be a performer. You can be just, you know. But the confidence that you need to work with the group so that they're ready to kind of, you know, promote whatever they're promoting, and feeling creative about it and feeling good about it. And in that line, I just wanted to say that Naomi is just the most amazing asset, and in terms of how much work she does with people to get their floats ready. But have we got a kind of you know, what happens if Naomi's not available? Have we got another plan? Because I think I had a lot of feedback from community groups that they really, they didn't know what to do. They decided they'd do something, and it was through her sort of creative thinking, and she does everything really cheaply, helps people. I think
it's a good question. So for those around the room who are not aware, we do have a lead artist or a community artist who works with the community groups and does all the workshops. Last year I think we separated the restoration and the development of the float from the community artist work, so that to differentiate they're quite different jobs. Is that right, Ken?
Well, we had that one off. We had additional sponsorship funding to restore the float, so we treated that as a separate project. But yeah.
So I think that you're right. A lot of community groups want to develop. They generally will come up with an idea. They want to all be birds this year, for instance, and that's, you know, pretty much what they do. And then how are we going to create that on a float? And she'll work with them to realise all their various things. So in terms of future-proofing that, we are continuing to put out the community artists, but we also are looking to get more artists involved as well, so that it's like, you know, handing over that knowledge and making sure that people have to still be really strong in their arts work, but also really strong in supporting community.
Totally.
And that's probably the key thing. You can't just be a really great artist and, you know,
No.
you have to be able to
It's
work
that
with
mix
these
of
community
arts,
groups.
yeah.
So we're sort of like looking at how we can do that, whether it be mentorship or, you know, having, you know, various people doing that and not just having the one, because it is 50 groups and maybe 30 of them will access Naomi.
Just a few other quick observations. I really liked the new brand. I liked the story behind it. I'd never heard of the Tasmanian Christmas Bell, which seems strange, but I hadn't. And I'll be interested to see other ways it can be interpreted, or, you know, not necessarily the print version, but, you know, puppets or flags or I don't know what. And I do think there's a need to sort of keep trying to build up the institution around an event, and that's why the Christmas pageant's popular, because people know it, whereas I feel like we've kept chopping and changing and people don't know what the big switch is or the sounds of summer or these sort of things. So trying to sort of, I know it's good to get feedback and modify, but the more we can keep similar branding or names, I think helps make an event more successful. Questions, or just some suggestions, just whether we could sort of purchase our own PA equipment for small events, so the Sounds of Summer and the even the little neighbourhood ones we do, the fact that we actually have to go out and procure that each time feels like an added expense.
We do have our own PA,
Oh, we do.
and that
Okay.
was ours.
That's what you used.
Yeah, so we used all our own PA for those. We had 5 PA systems in events.
Right. Yeah, we've got a limited amount here, but we would need some more to,
Yeah,
to
stages
fully
and-
to fully
yeah.
do
A
it.
little bit more.
It can be cheaper, but one thing we do have to bear in mind when buying things like audio equipment is servicing, maintenance, counting the equipment back in, storing it. So it can work, but it's not just the purchase of the gear. It's audio operators of high quality, etc. So I agree with you though. I think there's a point that we could reach ourselves, but above that point we should absolutely be going out to contractors.
Sorry, just a few more
Sorry.
minutes. So New Year's Eve, have you thought about drones? I know a lot of cities are going to the drone space. Or is that...
It's come up a couple of times. In terms of the, this is not just for documenting the event, but the drone displays. It's very expensive to do a good one.
Yeah, right.
That's probably the barrier. Yeah.
I think we could look at some things too, because of course Tasmania made Robin Fox, the laser artist, famous with his amazing citywide laser installations too. So, beautiful work. Have a look at the Monofoma project Robin Fox did a couple of years back. Citywide, like literally the entire city was, it was one of my favourite things ever. And that was very cheap.
Christmas Carol grants, I sort of feel like that whole program needs a refresh, and probably the kind of support that Naomi provides to the Christmas pageant people. I think, you know, I think the Lena Valley one, the group there are running out of, you know, they've worked, it's hard work and they're running a bit out of steam. I think it's a great venue for it and it's appreciated by people in that northern part of the suburb, but I don't really agree with sort of having a whole heap just in churches, because it's sort of like, well, what do we pay, what are we paying for? Like I think it's St David's Cathedral or something that's really extra special and they want some bucket loads of extra candles, or I don't know what, but I sort of feel like, yeah, that whole program needs a bit of a refresh. And I like the idea of our decorations being locally made, the non-plastic, seeing if we can, you know, create, obviously you can't do everything, you can't create a massive Christmas tree locally, but if we can commission local artists to create things that are really interesting and unique and more long-lasting and, you know, just more authentic to hear. I think that's great. And the final comment would be, for those of us who aren't sort of, I mean, we're all into Christmas in a way, but I also think things, you know, something like summer solstice is really unique to Tasmania, and there is a local sort of movement, or not movement, but, you know, locals notice it, and it's quite, you know, we are the brightest place in the whole country, and maybe we could do something around that that really sort of puts the spotlight more nationally on Hobart, because it is quite unique for us. So that's, I don't know what that looks like, but yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
I like that.
Councillor Kelly.
The Maya sponsorship, I notice it's 2,500 plus the updating of the float.
So that's the so $2,500 gift card gets given to the winner of the Mayor's Award for the pageant. Maya Award, and then 10,000 we got last financial year for updating the float, and then we get 30,000. I think it's then goes to plus, 33, then 36. So
okay.
Yeah,
that's on top of those.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right.
That's great. Just a couple of things here. Super important, I think, that we keep this fresh. You know, the big failure we see, like you mentioned, Moomba, and that they just slip into your comfort zone has been great. It's too late. Once that happens, it's gone. And that importance of remaining fresh, whether it's a carnival year you might have as a theme, seeing the big South American community we have now, and all that, we've got to be extremely inventive, and that's the hardest of things to do. Sound systems and that, I've said it before, and I've been experienced in this, if anything's going to go wrong, it's with sound, and if you want to kill an event, sound goes, and it really is a semi-expert thing to do. Whilst it might seem good, I think it can blow up big time in our face. The laser thing, which you mentioned before, was fantastic, but was only on a very limited scale, and if we could do something like that, I just think that would be so forward from the noise thing with animals, the pollution and everything else, and just being ahead of the pack with some of that stuff. That gives us a real edge. You could hang a whole year's festival on the laser stuff, you know, and that's this inventiveness I keep saying, and having to refresh and being ahead of those ideas. But some may say Christmas is a pagan festival and all that. I wouldn't. But yeah, once again, we've got to take that into consideration and rejoice in that part of the story as well as everything else. And you see all the other cities hanging on off us, like you see that banner for the New Norfolk people who come down and do their stuff and that, and that's great. You know, one side of us could say, well, what are we stumping up all these other councils for? But that's just the way it is. And thanks for the report.
Thank you. Councillor Bissell.
Thanks, Chair. I'll smash through some stuff. Thanks for the report. Thanks for a good festive season that we've just finished. I'll start with the Christmas pageant. Christmas pageant, will we review parking arrangements as part and transport arrangements?
So that's going to come as a second report, looking at ferries and parking in the city and those sorts of transport related. So it's separate to this particular issue, but it is being worked on right now. So.
Yeah, excellent, good news. In terms of the Christmas tree, which is coming up to end of life, I'm not super convinced on its location as something to think about. I think that it's Mawson Place seems like a good place to hold events. Rarely is. The weather's almost always awful. It's not protected from any wind. No matter what the direction is, you're stuffed if it's windy. So I think that finding a place for the Christmas tree that's a little bit more accessible, a little bit less hostile for visitors would be helpful. I don't know where that place is, but worth looking at. I do think that the Summer Sounds program is awesome. Great initiative, and I think we should keep doing it. But I would probably favour the idea of wherever you put the Christmas tree, having a Summer Sounds festival that's in the same spot. So it's predictable for people. So you know that on Friday through these months, on the second Friday of the whatever, or whatever program you decide to run, yeah, cool, there's music on here. I can go there. Rather than shifting it around, it's Long Beach is actually similar to Mawson Place. Seems like a great place for events, rarely is. So I think, yeah, if you can tap into more of that local music stuff to keep the city vibing and get people, like get locals out. My friends went to the railway roundabout there and said it was awesome. And that was like, what a great initiative, that type of thing. So I think that's something that we can have a look at as well. On the community Christmas Carol grants, I raised this when we saw who was getting them. I don't support churches getting grants from us. Basically, but particularly to put on Christmas carols. Like, if there's one thing a church does, it's Christmas, particularly the Catholic Church, and they're the wealthiest organisation in the country. It just doesn't stack up.
Back it up. Be careful what you say here.
That's true.
That's not true.
Right, keep going, Councillor.
So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of giving those guys community grants. I do think there is appetite in the community to return to a single festive spectacular. And I do think that in the long term, the stadium will bring that opportunity with it. But I wonder if we should be directing that $50,000 to something central for everybody at St David's or at Botanic Gardens, rather than these, like, what turned out this year to be Lena Valley, plus a whole bunch of churches getting money. I prefer to see the Botanic Gardens. I think that's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, possibly.
Councillor Dutta.
Thank you. Most of the points have been made, so I'll just one question that I'm going to ask. But I'm very tempted to go on and give a theological commentary about Constantine and how Christianity and Christmas came about, but that's not the topic for the day. But my question is, with regards to sponsorship, is it possible to extend the sponsorship? I mean, Myers appears to have a strong hold in this, but isn't it possible to have other big organisations coming into this?
The sponsorship arrangement with Myer is for naming rights, so we are able to attract other sponsorship within the agreement with what we've agreed to. So outside of naming rights, we can attract other sponsorship. It just really has to fit within what's within our sponsorship agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Dutta?
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, most of the points have been made,
Okay.
but I have my reservations about the church, but that can be debated later.
And you're happy, Councillor Sherlock? Yeah. Thank you. So in terms of my feedback, my overall comment is that I would rather us do less better. I would rather see, New Year's Eve done very well. I think the Light Up event has potential, and agree with Councillor Reynolds that we need to stay with it to build an identity. And the pageant, I actually don't like the Summer Sounds type stuff, only because I have in my mind I'd rather invest in bigger and better things and do less. But if they were to continue, I completely agree with Councillor Purcell that keep a consistent location so that you at least know if you're going to town with the kids, this is where you're going to see something. Because me being, value for money focused, I think, okay, we need to maximise that if it's going to happen. So if it's going to stay, then I would rather it be a sort of known entity and built into, and it's the same with the decorations. I would rather us condense them and do them really well than spread out and do them a bit half-heartedly, to put it nicely. Talking of decorations, I can understand it, and the reducing plastic side of me agrees and wants to move away from plastic decorations, but I wouldn't want us to turn into where we're looking a bit like a vintage market. And I also wouldn't want us to be paying phenomenal amounts to really talented artisans where we just can't substantiate that, because, and I mentioned this last year, but I still think back to the olden days, the 1990s, when there were things over the street, in Liverpool Street, Collins Street, Murray Street, and I don't know if that's something we could do. Can we get sponsors that, putting up the whatever name right, we could do maybe a sponsorship for the Light Up event, that might be a thing, but also can we get sponsors to input into, I would just love to see it across the street because it gives a visual impact. And the flags are there all the time. People have just desensitised to them. They don't catch your eye at all. The other thing is I stumbled on some Tasmanian bells in my garden and I recognised them after that. So are the nursery actually growing those?
Yes, they are.
Yes.
They have a long...
Flowering life.
Yeah, well, they take a year to come to flower.
Well, that was my next question around that, and also the propagation.
They are currently
Propagation.
propagating for this, well,
Okay.
maybe it's this year or next year,
Well, if
but
we
they'll
can,
be in the planter boxes.
yeah, great. And maybe just because they are precious and they are hard to propagate, maybe we could look at putting them up high, like hanging baskets or something, so that they're out of touch from people stuffing them up.
Picking them,
Yeah, because it'd be great to have that carried through. Summer sounds, yeah, but I will just say it again, just so my conscience is clear. I'd love to see across the streets, just one block of Liverpool, Murray and Collins. And if we have to go to commercial decorations that are plastic or are aluminium or whatever they might be, that we know we're investing in, we know they're going to last for 20 years. And yeah, that's my feedback.
What's the reason that got stopped? There is a reason, I think. That
I've heard a few
I
different
think it was to
stories.
do with being a private building, wasn't it? And I think
Potentially.
yeah, I'm not sure.
But-
Because it stopped in Launceston as well. So.
Yeah, I think that the prior to it was like in the 80s and 90s people would have those across the streets, but I think, you know, with emergent traffic and, you know, there's probably some risk around doing that.
We'll have a look at it.
We can have a look.
But we
for sure.
can take the intent
Well,
of this and,
Yeah.
and see if we can respond to the intent. You know, if we can't go across the street, maybe we can use the height or something. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a few in our working group storyboard which has a similar nature, just not across the street, but it kind of has that sort of spill.
it would feel the same,
Yeah.
I would say.
yeah. Because if there's a will, there's usually a way, and it could be that, like Alderman Bloomfield was saying, with the kids' activity, we could spread out the funds. So maybe, you know, the Saturday, the first day of the Saturday, the decorations go up. That could be a kids' activity day in the city, or some sort of spreading out economic activity stuff. Unless there's anything further from anyone, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 7.3, the governance of motions and audit of the motions. And Michelle, Acting Director, Corporate Governance. So, are you happy to, you want to talk to your report, or have you got a presentation?
Oh, we're just going to go through.
Oh, yeah, we're just going to go through them, so...
Oh, okay.
Oh, you haven't read them? You haven't got them?
Oh, sorry, no, that's right.
It's probably just the outstanding ones, Kathy. So it'll be attachment B. Yeah. So just while Kathy's finding that up, obviously we've done the audit. So the initial notice of motion was from 2018. It was the term of the previous council, but just so you have some confidence, we do actually keep a register of all the notice of motions dating back to 2005. So through the audit, we found that there were 174 noms that were considered by councils from October 2018 to the end of December 25, and there were 5 still outstanding that predated 2018, so they've been captured as well. So from that list, we had 110 that have been completed, so 107 from the October 2018 to December 25, and then there were 3 predating 2018, so they've been completed and actioned. And then we had the outstanding list. So there are 25 still outstanding, 23 in that October period to 2018 to December 25, and then there were 2 predating 2018. So we were just going to go through the outstanding ones. And look, we can go through them now, but this is not your only chance. If you ever have any comments or feedback, please, you know, just shoot it through to
The outstanding ones. Yep, that's.
Yeah, we can plug this in, or I can call
I'll do that, whatever's easier.
Just wait for the list to come up.
If it helps to have a question, I was
Yeah.
going to ask it later anyway, but it's on the Dorney House one, which is on your list if not yet completed.
Yes.
And I had 2 questions on that one. One of them was, and this is what I was going to ask anyway, you have the $200,000 noted as being the interest component for the expense of that, right? originally when we looked at it last workshop, whenever it was.
Last workshop,
Yep. Okay. But the interesting thing for me was, it's like, does that mean we have an interest-only loan, or is there a capital?
No, it's principal plus interest, but it's a fixed interest rate, so it's not a variable one.
But the 200,000 is only the interest? Do you see
I
what I'm
think
saying?
that wasn't just interest. That 200,000 included maintenance as well.
No, I know, but I'm just I just think that we're not talking about the principal that's being paid off, because that has to be funded by ratepayers' income, which means that if we're looking at the actual cost, we should have actually included the principal that's being paid off at the same time, because that's actually a genuine impact. Well, I was just looking at it the other day and then realised that we hadn't included that, because unless it's an interest-only loan, which it's not,
no, it's not.
Then we've got another chunk of money there that's being paid off that has to be funded by ratepayers' income. So I actually think that's quite material, to be honest. I don't know how big it is. I just thought I'd just put it out there, and I'd really like to appreciate knowing what that was, if that's all right.
Okay.
As I said, because it will impact. You know, if we spend 200, it may well be 250 or something. So I just want to know. The other question was, funnily enough, the same motion, was that I know when we did the discussion, it was all about Dorney House, but the actual motion at 560 actually talks about Beaumaris as well, but I'm pretty sure we didn't discuss it.
No, but so it includes Beaumaris and the Sandy Bay side as well. So
we didn't discuss it.
Yes, we did.
All.
No,
Okay.
that's because I'm not ready to yet. So I'm ready to do Dorney House, so I've brought that on rather than leave Dorney House until we. Beaumaris is a whole other thing.
Oh, I know. It was just
the
way it
complex
looks
thing.
like.
So we're looking at that. That'll come back. When it's ready, and the other one in Sandy Bay is actually slightly more progressed, and that will come back as well. But Dorney is ready, so we brought it on.
It was just the way it read. I thought, oh, hang on a minute.
No, we've still got.
That's cool. That was all I had. No worries.
So, how many of these outstanding ones do we have to have on this list?
So there are 25.
Okay. So what we might do, because otherwise we can easily get caught in discussion on all 25 topics, and we won't get through that because there'll be a lot of can of worms opened. So maybe we might talk about we can scan through those, like at a high level, but we might talk, I was keen to also understand, maybe get the feedback from the council around how notice of motions are managed more systematically around the system of them, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't had an order like this done for quite some time.
No, but you now get current notices of motions monthly in the reports with the status on them.
Okay, so that's an improvement.
We did used to get them.
It dropped away and then it's back. So.
And that the notice of motion register is accessible to us all, is it? Or is it only for officers?
No, it's a database maintained by governance at the moment, so it's not accessible. What this motion, this audit gives us a chance is to make sure any current notice of motion will be in that report that you're getting monthly. Anything that hasn't been dealt with will be there. So.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we'll probably just avoid the temptation to go into too much detail on what Michelle will show us, but if we've got specific questions, we know we can contact you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So the first one, obviously up there, is the Macquarie Point Stadium.
So we won't go through them. We'll just go through them and yell us to stop if you want us to.
If there's any that you want to. So limiting the car yard, so there's a report being prepared on that. We've got the UTAS rezoning, flying for climate, audit of the street side dining safety, artificial intelligence in planning. So you can see, so all these pink ones, there's reports pending that will be coming. We just spoke about the future of Dorney House. Collection partner of DV safe phone, so that's in progress.
I actually think that's complete, but anyway.
Encouraging residential development in central Hobart. I think that report's close too, isn't it?
Yeah, next council meeting.
Deputations to council. Menopause. Trees on private property. Working with vulnerable people card. We've got that noted that it was going to come to council in March, but we're thinking we'll bring it back to a workshop. So,
can I ask a question about that one?
Yep.
If you're an elected member, you're not a member of any other organisation that allows it.
Yep.
You're not allowed to.
That's what it
apply
says.
for one.
That's what it
okay.
tells you.
That's what it
But
says. Yeah.
we have to respond to the motion, and that's
Yeah.
what belatedly is what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they'd change it. Anyway.
Yeah, well, we can't.
Yeah.
It has to come back to council, but yeah.
Yeah. That was the, yeah, that's this one. Parking meters in North Hobart, so that'll be wrapped up in the future state of car parking. Family-friendly CBD.
Can I ask you a parking meters one? Isn't that complete?
No, because there's a whole, well, yes and no. There was quite a bit in the motion. The actual removal of the paving meters, yes, but there was more in the motion that needed to be addressed, which hasn't been, and so that's be part of the future state of parking.
Yeah. Motorbike parking, reinstatement of Elizabeth Street, exploring city bus options, Battery Point Foreshore Walkway, parking meters in the city, a commemorative to the late Ali Sultan.
We've had the one before the parking meters in the city.
It's the same
Yeah.
answer as I gave Ryan. There's elements to it that are still are unaddressed, and so we're actually going to put it all into one report and deal with all of these outstanding issues at the same time.
Yeah. Jump past that one.
Oh, sorry. Same with that one.
Same with the park, yeah. Investigation of asset holdings.
Who improves?
How can we have, is that the date right?
Yeah,
2014?
Yeah.
Staggering. That's why we went all the way back.
This one's even, yeah.
Oh, Sandy back Rebellion.
How about the Montpellier retreat? That was about 2014.
So is that, so the meeting dates for the pavilion?
Yes.
Is it kind of multiple noms, or is it one nom that's just been discussed many times?
It came back to us lots of times.
Yeah, this was it. Yeah, it's been back multiple times.
Do you know if the Montpellier retreat one is there?
It's not in this list, I don't think.
No.
Oh,
Okay. Follow that one.
yeah,
up,
I
please.
think it was in response to a business owner who's now sold, but it was.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Right. So just, CEO, so just to confirm, we've seen what can happen, things can drop away, but we've got a process in place now to stop that from happening?
Yeah.
All right. And if anyone's got any questions on specific motions, we can come to the relevant
Absolutely.
director. Okay. Well, on that basis, unless anyone's got anything else to say on this item, Councillor Kelly?
Yeah, I think this is great, it's a courageous thing to do, and you've got to have that, it should be front and centre for us, we can just go to and just look at that column.
Mm.
It hasn't been done, Look, and I understand at times it's bloody hard, some of this stuff, but I just think you've got to be accountable. So, was the report on the Tasman Bridge thing on that is that still outstanding?
No.
It's not? We're going to have we did have a presentation, but it was cancelled. There's been nothing happened since that. It was going to be rescheduled.
That's probably for the next agenda item. Councillor Kelly, questions with notice, without notice? Yes?
Yeah, thanks. Just on the procedure, right, so this was a motion that on the drafts that I put up. Are we confident that we're not going to, I'm pretty sure it's a Dorothy Dixer, are we confident we're not going to wind up back in this position with motions in 5 years or even 10 years' time, where we go back and go, well...
So each month the directors need to provide an update. The relevant, I shouldn't say that, well, the directors are responsible, but the relevant offer has to provide an update on where things are at. So you've got noms and significant initiatives or actions. So those are the ones that aren't included in the annual plan. So that table comes once a month. It's coming through the EM bulletin, so nothing will be removed from that until it's actioned. And what it will say is this matter is considered complete, and then it will go to one more time to you guys and then it will come off. But there's always the central register of completed notions as well. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that's it for that item. Thank you, Michelle. And then we're on to questions without notice. Any elected members with questions? Councillor Kelly?
Oh yeah, that one about the report on the getting a briefing on the Tasman Bridge. It's
So,
probably a good
state
thing
growth,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing too. We might have been able to dovetail in what's happening with future stuff in that as well.
Yeah.
Because there was something scheduled, but it was cancelled, I think.
Yeah,
it was
okay.
never really-
Yeah, well, that's dropped off the radar in that sense. That, I mean, because there was some work done around the cycling pedestrians and the pedestrian upgrades. The site wasn't there, and you guys had some briefing on that or not?
Yes. Did we? Oh, I can't remember. I thought there was someone from Straight Growth was going to be addressing concerns that were raised.
Yeah, it was specifically about the bridge.
Yeah, well, I think there's some work happening in that space, so it's probably timely to get them to come in. So I'll if we'll put that on the list of
Okay.
actions for me.
Councillor Reynolds?
Yeah, just a question on, can we get a cost of the hosting of the large sporting events at the North Hobart Oval?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what we charge and what we have to spend to provide facilities for the extra crowds?
Yep.
Any other questions? Yes,
Yeah,
Councillor?
just an extension to the can we get sort of a post-event debrief on the Devils match? For just things that, there was some sort of public feedback on ways that we could improve.
Was there? I've heard nothing but positive, so I'm interested. So what negatives have you heard?
Oh, just it's tweaking around lines like management of getting in and having a bag check line, a non-bag check line.
Oh, okay.
Like it's really operational stuff.
We don't run the event.
That's
No.
right.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't actually know how the event is run.
Yeah.
As a councillor, it would be helpful to have a bit of a debrief or a briefing so that we can address these if you bring them to us.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then I'll invite an elected member to move us into closed. Councillor Dutta, thank you. So we can adjourn the open meeting and move into closed.